Shake it up, baby. Shake it up, baby. Twist and shout. Twist and shout. Come on, come on, come on, come on, baby. Come on, babe. Come on and work it on now. Come on and work it on now. Work it on out, honey. Work it on out. Why you look so good. You know you look so good. Shake it up, baby. Shake it up, baby. Hello, Home Slices, and welcome back to Sup Media Reviews. Season 2 is here, and we're kicking things up a notch. We're diving into music, TV, and movies from over 20 years ago, plus we're kicking off a brand new YouTube series that's going to bring even more fun your way. This season is full of fresh reviews, special guests, and plenty of laughs. Ready to jump in? Let's get into this week's episode. What is up, Home Slices, and welcome back to the Sup Media Reviews podcast, the show where we ask the questions, do these old movies, TV shows, and music still hold up today, and are they worth revisiting? I'm your host, Kiara, and today we're celebrating a very special anniversary. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is turning 40 years old this year, and I have to be completely honest, before watching it for this review, I've never seen it. So you may be thinking, how have you not seen, this cult classic? And I don't really have a good answer for you. But what I do have is someone who does, because I brought in someone who, kind of grew up with this film. Today's guest was about 16 or 17 years old when this movie came out. And he's a certified classic movie buff who spent the better part of my entire life making sure his children appreciate the greats. He is, not coincidentally, my dad. Dad, say hello.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Yeah, my dad is here for the first time on camera, but not the first time on the podcast. So I'm glad to have him here because this, movie came out when he was a part of the target age demographic for this film. So yes. I think it'll be really interesting to get, part of your historical context along with my, fresh eyes, on this film. I think it'll be really interesting once we get to the discussion.
Yeah. Yes, I think so too. And me rewatching it recently, I'm like, oh, this is right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Especially with the timing. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, well, before we get into it, we always got to start off with the fun facts, okay? So I've always loved learning some of the behind-the-scenes stuff when it comes to film, so let's see what we got here. Fun fact number 1, Ferris Bueller's Day Off was written, produced, and directed by John Hughes. He wrote the entire screenplay in less than a week. And John Hughes is basically the godfather of 1980s teen movies. So he also... Yes. Wrote The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Weird Science, Pretty in Pink. When we get to the 90s, he also did Home Alone and Home Alone 2. So he has some pretty heavy-hitting hit films. And he, in the 80s built a whole genre. And Ferris Bueller was kind of right in the middle of that run. Dad, what are your thoughts on John Hughes in those films?
John Hughes is a 80s legend. There's several movies in that I've shown you guys, my kids and my wife, who had, maybe I hadn't seen them all. She'd seen some of them. And if the 80s, it's so 80s, the fashion, the music, the culture, I hate saying this, sounds cliche, he defined a decade. But as far as, his teen, his coming of age movies, they were a lot of people's soundtracks to their childhood. And, he's well-deserving the praise he gets. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You have definitely shown us a number of those. I, as a 90s kid, I am more partial to Home Alone and Home Alone 2, which I have reviewed before. But yeah, these movies have helped define a generation. Okay, let's move on to fun fact number 2. The movie was released on June 11th of 1986 and was made on a budget of around $5 to $6 million. It went on to gross over $70 million worldwide, making it one of the top grossing films of the year. So it was a very big deal. Now, fun fact number 3, the twist and shout parade scene, which we're absolutely going to talk about later on, was shot on was shot on 2 separate Saturdays on 3 blocks of Dearborn Street in Chicago. They used 10,000 local extras as background actors. So that's a lot of people, 10,000 people in the streets for a lip sync. And we will talk about it.
Yes.
The little Michael Jackson flash mob threw me off.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's classic.
Yeah. And the final fun fact, there were other people who were considered for the role of Ferris Bueller. Dad, I don't know if you know this, but some of these other actors included Jim Carrey, John Cusack, Johnny Depp, Tom Cruise, and Michael J. Fox. John Hughes said that Matthew Broderick was the only person he could imagine in the role. And Dad, I'm wondering if you knew about any of these other guys being considered for the role and if you think they would have done it justice.
Michael J. Fox was a staple. He might have been able to pull it off. I don't know how his musical chops are, but I didn't know how Matthew Broderick's musical chops were. So I'm surprised there. I mean, so who knows what it would have been. But maybe Michael J. Fox. Jim Carrey was unknown. He was super unknown. Matthew Broderick already had War Games, which was early. Yeah. So he was a kid in that. And so we kind of had an idea he could play a kid.
Yes.
Pull up,
I think it's
I'm still
interesting.
Curious about his age.
We'll talk a little bit about their ages. But I think it's very interesting when I think about either of these other guys in the role. It feels different depending on who it is. Like Jim Carrey would have added an additional layer of silliness. I feel like Matthew Broderick, he was like funny and like quirky, but he wasn't silly. Like, Jim Carrey would have brought like physical comedy.
Right. But I don't know if Jim Carrey would have been that Jim Carrey yet, though. He would have been sad. That's true. It was so we don't know where he was at in his career, so we don't know.
That's true. But then we think about like Johnny Depp or Tom Cruise might have gone with a more heartthrob. I don't know if people view Matthew Broderick as a heartthrob. He comes across as like more like a normal person.
Right. Yeah, Tom Cruise was a heartthrob in the 80s. He's already did several movies as a teen and young adult where he was, not the stud, but he might, the good looking guy, and it might have would have pulled off, come off as good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have changed things. So, I mean, I guess Matthew Broderick was right for the role.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, if today's episode has you feeling like you need to go down memory lane and check out this movie, you can catch Ferris Bueller's Day Off streaming right now on Paramount Plus and Hoopla. And as always, that is of the recording of this episode. So if you're watching it later, make sure you double check your platforms. Now, let's move on to talking about personal connection and cultural significance. Dad, I'm going to let you go first because as a first-time watcher, I don't really have a personal connection to this film at all. So given that you were around the same age as Ferris, maybe a year or two younger, I'm curious, what does this movie mean to you personally? And what do you think it meant for, pop culture overall?
It had a great impact on, not me, on me, but on the culture and at the time, because there was the elements of being at school, but you don't want to be at school. You want to go. I had the parallel with living outside of New York City to go into New York City to do stuff. So that's, I might have did that one or two occasions in high school. Maybe not skipping school. Maybe I did once. We just went to the city, but that was a big thing to go do. So that was something I could relate to, right? Getting in the car with your friends and going, not necessarily stealing your dad's car, but but going to do that. The timing, it was, the timing was really good because, your girlfriends and being the cool kids or not the cool kids and your principal who you ever. We had a principal where we hated for no reason at all. We just, it's the principal. You're supposed to hate him.
He's the man. He's just the man,
right.
trying to hold you down.
He's just the man, right. Right. So there was that. And I want to say, I saw this in high school. Can't remember if it was at theaters or not. But I was still in high school at the time. It wasn't like much later, and I was able to relate with all of those things. And the culture, I mean, well, like you said, we'll get into the musical references, even the other music that was just, part of the soundtrack. Those were like little pop hits, but, they had all these things that there was lines that are quotable. There was computers that just coming into, people having them at home and getting into them in it. And you were like, oh man, are we going to who can really do that? And what was the weird thing was, War Games, like I mentioned, which is a movie about almost like AI taking over and starting a world war, and had a lot to do with him hacking computers and getting into the grid and doing all of that. So when he was doing that, there was a little relation there. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. But I recommend War Games. It's great. If you haven't seen War Games, have you?
I haven't seen the full movie, but if I'm remembering correctly, right. I know the ending.
Okay. Yeah, that could be quite possible. Yeah, but I recommend that for anybody who wants some '80s nostalgia and a kid that's super kid friendly. There's nothing in there you can put. I don't care how young you are. You can put a kid in this. Put a kid and sit down in front, and I think he'll enjoy it.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, again, I don't have a personal connection to this film because I had never watched it, but I knew Matthew Broderick was in it. I knew there was a wacky friend that he had, and I know that people have been quoting and referencing and maybe parodying it as well, and maybe I wasn't all the way in on the joke, but I think it tells you something when a movie that's 40 years old still has an impact on people. And when it comes to, top movies of the 80s or top stars of the 80s, a lot of them are in this film. And, with John Hughes's legacy and history, I understand it to be a big deal, even though I've never seen it. So I think that tells you a lot about it. So I finally watched it and we're about to get into it.
Okay.
All right, let's do it. Okay, let's start with the opening of the film. The movie opens up and we meet Ferris Bueller, who is a high school senior living in a very nice house in the Chicago suburbs. And on this particular morning, Ferris has decided he's not going to school. He is faking sick, and I want to say he's good at it, but I also think his parents are kind of stupid.
Right.
When it
That's an 80s thing.
Yes. Yeah. His parents buy it. They dote over him. They head off to work, and we immediately meet his sister, Jeannie, who is not buying it. And she's actually kind of angered that her parents are falling for this. But they leave him home as they head off to work. So right away, the movie's doing something interesting. Ferris is talking to us directly. So he's breaking the fourth wall, and he gives us this tutorial on how to fake out your parents, which I thought was very interesting. I had never heard the lick your hands trick. So I thought that was pretty good. But we also meet his best friend, Cameron Fry, who's played by Alan Ruck. And Cameron is actually sick. He is surrounded by medicine. He's miserable. He doesn't want to leave the house. But meanwhile, Ferris is having the time of his life and doing everything in his power to drag Cameron into whatever plan he's got cooked up for the day. But by now, we're supposed to believe that Ferris is the coolest kid alive. He has a fancy room with a lot of fancy gadgets and a soundboard. He has a TV in his room that's playing MTV.
I was so jealous. Oh my God.
Yes. Yes. Posters everywhere. You can tell not only are they loaded, but he is a lucky kid that has a lot of gizmos and gadgets.
Yes.
Yes, but we also meet two people who are not buying, Ferris's hype. I already mentioned his sister, Jeannie, who, is upset that Ferris gets away with everything. And then we meet Principal Edward Rooney, who is the dean of students at their high school and has made it his personal mission to catch Ferris in the act of, skipping school. We find out that Ferris has skipped 9 days of school, but he ends up hacking into the school computer system to change it to 2. From there, the whole setup is Ferris engineering a day off for himself, Cameron, and his girlfriend, Sloane Peterson, which involves Cameron pretending to be Sloane's father on the phone with Rooney to get her out of class. And it's a little bit messy, but they end up pulling it off. And by the end of the first act, the 3 of them are speeding off in Cameron's dad's prize 1961 Ferrari GT California, one of only about 100 ever made, with Cameron in the makeshift back seat with no seatbelt. So, so that is it's a very short summary, but we'll get into our thoughts on it. Dad, what are your first impressions after watching this part of the movie again after all these years?
I got a bunch. It was so Ferris. First of all, that name Ferris is, I've never heard that name before or since. It's just, they never really, I said, it's so unique a name. I said, maybe they would mention it. They never, that's always a unique name. I'm like, that's a cool name. You're not going to forget that. And to be the coolest in the school, the coolest probably in the town. It was funny. The funniest thing, all the references of him, of people wishing him well, is coming along later. So hilarious. Great scenes. Like I said earlier, I'm so jealous of his room. And this time I rewatched it, I forgot about the view he had. He had like a corner office room where he opened the curtains. I was like, oh, he's got.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, oh yeah, yeah. I said that's a cool. I said, but the gadgets, I was always so jealous. Oh man, that's cool. He's got computers, soundboards, TVs, keyboards, stereo, everything. I'm like, I wouldn't want to go to school either. I got all that in my room. so yeah, that was good. Another thing that always, I never understood. Maybe you can shed some light. Maybe you figure it out. Are they twins? Fraternal twins?
You know what? I was trying to figure it out too. Because she talked about later in the movie that she got a car, but he got a computer.
So you think he would be old? She would be older.
Right.
Because the older gets the car first. But then. Right. But he's constantly talking about graduating in June.
Right. He's for sure a senior, but Jeannie, I can't peg which grade she's in.
And then if she's driving, she's got to be either a junior or a senior, but
right.
They never kind of explain. And she looks older. She acts older. Well, usually the sister is always, acts older anyway. Okay. But so that I'm like, they never really clarified that. So she seems like she would be like a freshman in college and he would be a senior. Right. But of course, she's at the school the whole time.
At high school, right.
Right. And I thought what was so funny was in the school, she'd be sitting around and they'd be acting like she didn't know who Ferris was. I said, you that unpopular? Are you that unpopular that they don't even know that's your sister? And if they're twins, that's even more bananas.
It is. So, agreed.
Right. So I'm still lost on that. And I can't believe that's never really popped up. But yeah, that was, and her car was a current car. That was a cool car at the time. It was a Pontiac Fiero. It was a piece of junk, though. It turned out to be a real piece of junk as the years went on. But at the time, it was a cool car for a kid to have. So, but it was always the eternal question for me: how were they, related in age? And then there was a little in the shower scene. He's singing a song that we'll hear later. There's a foreshadowing in that. I love talking about foreshadowing. I didn't even notice. Yeah, he did, and then somebody else sang it. Yeah, he sings a couple of songs, but one of them is the song he'll sing later.
Okay.
He sings like a line from it. And then somebody else sings it. I think his dad sings it at some point later, before Ferris does it. So it's funny that once you know it's there, you'll see it. If you ever rewatch it, you'll be like, oh,
I didn't pick that up. Yeah. I didn't pick that up. Interesting.
Yeah. Now, also, I know I was jealous of Ferris. And you say they're low, they got a lot of money. But they don't have any money near as Cameron's family.
Oh my gosh. Cameron's house.
That house was like, right now that house would be bananas. But this is talking about.
That house is a villain's house, like a villain's lair.
Right. Yeah. With the garage and all that. Now, we looked at the Ferrari. Ferrari's worth a lot of money. But if you saw, there was an old school 30s
Oh, yes.
Model T or something in the corner, and that's worth more than the Ferrari. I'm like, I said, oh, yeah, they're loaded. It was a whole different level than Paris. So I was like, yeah, if you think he's loaded, yeah, they're definitely loaded. But hey, money doesn't buy you happiness, as we see, as we find out later.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
Cameron had a difficult home life. Ferris's parents it was almost like Ferris had this force field around him that when his parents got too close, they just became stupid. They just became blind.
Right. They had great jobs. He was like real estate and he was in finance or something, it looked like. So they weren't dummies in the business world.
Exactly.
But and when they stepped inside the door there. But that's 80s. There's a lot of 80s stuff. If you want the kids to do what they're going to do, somebody's got to be the folly, as I think they like to say.
Yes.
Real some minor stuff on me. I know the jersey that Cameron's wearing is Detroit Red Wings hockey team jersey. But they're in Chicago, so it's weird to me. It always it's a Hall of Fame jersey. The guy's name on the back is Gordie Howe, and I get that, but it was weird that he had that jersey instead of like Chicago has a hockey team, the Blackhawks. So I would think, you'd have a Bears or something, but that probably has something to do with the actual actors something. So it's nod to maybe Sloane. Oh, such a crush on her. Oh, back then, love me some Sloane. Dark hair. Quiet. She was like the junior and he was the senior. That's always a dynamic in school. But love me some Sloane. And she was so kind, and especially with helping Cameron get through some things. And she was really nice and she was cool. The teacher, his real name is Ben Stein. The teacher, Bueller.
The Clear Eyes guy.
Right. So I'm sure you heard that before you heard.
Yes.
You never heard somebody say Bueller or whatever, talking that monotone. Did you have a teacher like that? That was just monotone and just, we had
I would say yes. Maybe even a couple college professors too.
Yeah. So that's probably one of the most quoted things, especially when I was back in school. People would try to do it. It was a thing. Now, one thing that guy turned into, you've seen him on commercials, but he had a game show.
Where you had to know more than him.
Yeah,
is that right?
Ben Stein's money. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and that's made me think of that. I had never seen the guy before this. I don't know
because he was an economics professor.
Oh wow!
And
that makes
John
a lot of sense.
John Hughes told him to actually do an economics lecture. So, like, besides him calling roll in the class, none of it was scripted. He was literally doing like a college level economics.
Wow. Yeah. But that really encapsulated high school. And, that's the thing that made John Hughes great. He was able to do these things and get the current climate of kids, and getting it on screen. That was great. But, that was something I always related to. What else I got here? Something weird. Another weird. Okay, he puts his hat on at one point in his house, and then he has it on later. It's like a
beret?
Not a bowler, but no, a beret. Before the beret, he's got like a gray hat. And what's another role of Matthew Broderick's later in his career was Inspector Gadget.
Yes.
Do you remember Inspector?
I do
remember there was a cartoon, and he had a hat like that. So it's a little weird foreshadowing. Something I noticed. This is something I'm rewatching. I'm like, okay, I watch too much TV. But I saw that. That's made me think of the funny things. But that was a lot going on. They get a lot going on in this movie, and it's in this first third of it. It's great pacing. I think it flows real good. It's the scene with him on the phone with the principal imitating the Mr. Peterson. I laugh every time. To see Cameron go from being a recluse and not want to do nothing to you don't know it's him on the phone until they show him in the kitchen on the phone. And that's why I think I might have saw this in the theater. I think everybody falls out laughing when they see it. They think it's Ferris doing it. And then when they do the little switch on the phone, that's classic movie stuff right there. Getting, the bait and switch kind of. You don't know who's doing what. And then he's like, oh, I'm screwed. I didn't cussed out the father of somebody's mother that died, And,
yes.
That's one of my favorite scenes, him imitating the dad.
Yeah, I enjoyed that scene too. I actually have always thought Alan Ruck was very handsome. Did you know he was 29 when he was in this movie?
I think I remember hearing. I can't remember being that old. 29. Jeez. Wow.
He was 29. I don't know what it was. I really enjoyed him wearing suspenders with his clothes. It didn't make sense, but I thought it was stylish. I don't know. But speaking of age, Matthew Broderick was 23.
Okay.
22, 23. I think he was turning 23 when it actually was released, I think. And when I saw him laying in bed pretending to be sick, I was like, this man is in college. Like, he just looked older to me when he was laying down. But then when he stood up and got moving around, he looked younger. I don't know.
Yeah,
what that was about. But yeah, I was like,
his sister, how old was she? Jeannie was. She was like an '80s legend because what's her name?
Yes, because she's from Dirty Dancing.
Right. Jennifer Grey, right? Yeah. But,
yes.
I know she was older too. But Cameron being 29, I didn't think he was that old. But I want to say Sloane was the youngest.
So she would have been 26.
Yeah.
25 or 26 when the movie was filming.
But
the 25-year-old.
The scenes in the hallway with the kids and everybody's wishing Ferris, and the rumors would start growing about him needs a kidney transplant, and it's just
let's talk about his legend. So throughout the movie, he is known all over the town. There's freaking billboards basically for him. Yep. They're collecting, money for his recovery fund.
Yeah, newspaper article. Remember, it was a newspaper article.
Yes.
It's just so funny.
It's a little bit of a problem for me because we're just supposed to accept that he has.
Yeah, it's just silly.
The thing is that if they change one aspect of this story, it would have made sense. If he was like the lead quarterback or something on the football team, then I feel on a winning football team, it would have made sense the amount of cachet, the social cachet that he had. But for him not to be an athlete, or for him to not necessarily have anything that spectacular about him, and everyone, the police department, everybody to know him, it was a little unbelievable. That took me out of it a little bit.
But what made it, I think that what took it so far is that it was his sister that would hear it most of the time.
Yes.
And it just got her blood boiling more and more and more. It was such a thorn in her side that he was so popular.
And Rooney too.
Yeah. Yeah, so it I thought it was hilarious every time we would see him being referenced somewhere, and her getting so upset about it. But I enjoyed that every time it happened. So where we left off at?
The last thing we talked about is them heading off to have the best day ever in the Ferrari. But I have a little more to talk about because the biggest thing for me is that, the film sets it up so that from the first scene, Ferris is presented to us as a cool, charming, lovable rebel. Everyone loves him. His parents are basically under a spell. And, the only two people who really don't see it for Ferris are his sister and Rooney. But the whole school has a Save Ferris campaign going because they think he's basically dying. And I'm watching all of this and I'm like, I low-key don't like him. Actually, and I don't have as strong of feelings as Jeannie or Rooney. I just am not a big fan. He comes across to me as like this charismatic manipulator, and I feel like he's charming, but he uses that charm to get people to do what he wants. And to me, the way he treats Cameron is particularly unkind. Like, this is your best friend. He's sick. and you are manipulating him into being out when he's not feeling well and taking his dad's expensive, literally 1 in 100, car out on the town. Like, to me, he is not a good friend. He even, he kicked Cameron when Cameron, messed up on the phone call with Rooney. He just wasn't very nice. And I was like, I actually don't like him. And so I'm trying to figure out if that's just me with my 2026 brain, since this is my first watch. And if there maybe were other people who felt that way in 1986 and it just wasn't a popular take. I don't know.
I think it's probably more current thing that you're seeing. And it was such an 80s thing for a kid to be precocious and doing all these things and getting all these adventures. This is 86 in the middle of it. And you got E.T. happen with kids doing stuff. You got all the Mother John Hughes movies. You got kids doing stuff, and you're just... But for me, of course, it hit right in the spot. I'm like, yeah, that's a cool kid. And he's not a football player, so I had a kind of... Not an opposite thing, but look, you don't have to be the star football player to be the coolest guy in the school. So, but I get it from where you're coming from. It's just, and that's one thing I did get upset about the car with him. I like cars. And I'm like, yeah, that car is a problem. It's, and you damaged that. You forget about the house that you got damaged. So, but, we'll get to that. But I'm like, you did manipulate your friend, but it was all, I thought it was all a thing to get his friend out of his shell too.
We don't find out his motives until later, and we'll talk about that. Right. My question is, do the ends justify the means?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And okay, we'll talk about that.
Yes. So this kind of leads me into my final discussion question before we move on to the next part of the story. Let me talk about Sloane a little bit. Do you think Sloane had a personality?
I would have liked to see her interact with her female friends, and I could have figured out a little more. But I mean, Ferris was her personality, but it seemed like that was her link to being popular. So I don't know. Her looks, maybe she was riding on that, but I thought she was sweet and genuine. But
there were moments where I felt like she was. I understood that she was sweet, but I don't know that I feel like they could have developed her character a little bit more. It kind of came across to me as if her biggest kind of character trait was being a listening ear for Cameron and being the girl that goes along with Ferris's shenanigans. Yeah. And
hold
it's
on to
like
his coattails. Yeah.
And I don't think she was doing it because she didn't actually care about him and just wanted to be popular. I think she actually really liked Ferris. But I think that she should have had a more distinct personality to make her character pop a little more. That was my only gripe with Sloane.
Back in the 80s, they had female characters doing that, but sometimes they were like, okay, this is Ferris Bueller. It might not take time to develop all the other characters, or not every one of them, but I see what you're saying. But,
and can we talk about Rooney watching her make out with who he thought was her dad and not call him CPS?
I'm telling you, it's just back then it was mind your business. I guess it didn't, but that's part of the movie too. And speaking of Rooney, that actor, he was always not the villain, but never I want to say in other roles, he wasn't competent either. I think he got typecast. I don't know if it was before or after this, but I've seen him in a couple other things. And there's another character later. We'll talk about him. Real minor role, and he's been in other 80s movies as a jerk. But we'll get to him. But,
okay, cool. All right. But the final question I have before we move on to the next part of the movie. Why do you think Ferris and Cameron are friends? Like, Cameron it's very interesting. I feel like in this movie, people either hate Ferris or love Ferris. And Cameron seems to be the only person who can hold space for both at the same time. Like, this is his best friend and they're hanging out and all of that stuff. And he also, like, especially when Ferris hits him for messing up the phone call, or when he pressures him into using his dad's car, he also has like these negative feelings of like, he's pushing me to do something that I don't want to do. And so I'm curious your thoughts about how each of them feels about the friendship and what they get out of it. What does Cameron get out of it?
Yeah, well, Cameron probably gets it, even though he might not want it, but he's being the cool kid's best friend. So in school, I'm assuming they would hang out together, and he'd get that cachet of being the cool kid's best friend. But also, remember, he said we've been since 5th grade or something. He said or 1st grade. So they've been friends a long time. And I noticed something I didn't really notice before. We'll get to it later about the car, but remind me about Ferris says something about Cam's dad. But I think them being best friends, he gets it out, but Cameron doesn't care. He just, I guess he's along for the ride also. Because Ferris is a lot.
Yes.
Give you that much stuff. He's a lot. So I don't know if their relationship, maybe it's just history, and Ferris sees this, and look, high school's almost over, and he quotes his very quotable line, "I don't want you to miss it."
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I agree that the history plays a lot into it. They've been friends for a long time, especially if they are, 17, 18-year-old seniors. But yeah, I mean, Cameron is a little miserable, and having Ferris there, not just the social cachet of, being friends with the coolest person, because I don't know how much he really benefited from that. He doesn't come across to me as having many other friends besides Ferris. I don't know. I think their friendship is a little bit strange, but the history could partially explain that. I do like the dynamic with Sloane too, though.
Right. I really think, especially rewatching it and really listening to their monologues near the end from Ferris and Cameron, that when John Hughes wrote this, I think that was the whole basis of their friendship. Him trying to get him out of his shell. And I think maybe that and everything else formed from that. Maybe he had something from his childhood that he had a friend, or maybe I might want to have read this somewhere. He was Cameron. John Hughes was more Cameron, and maybe So I think that had something to do with the writing. Don't quote me, but I want to say I read that somewhere or heard about it.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, well, let's get into the second part of this movie, the kind of conflict and their big day out. So our three truants make it down to downtown Chicago, and they have a whole day ahead of them. They go to the Sears Tower, which I think is now called the Willis Tower. I think that's the new name for it.
And it's no longer the tallest building in the world anymore. By far.
That's very true. Yes.
Yeah.
Very true.
Several buildings.
Yes. They visit the Stock Exchange. They go to a Cubs game at Wrigley Field and the Art Institute of Chicago. Some of these places I was like, y'all went to a museum on your day, away from school, but okay. Right. They also stop at a very fancy restaurant called Chez Louise, where Ferris talks his way into a table under the name Abe Foreman, who's the Sausage King of Chicago, which absolutely should not have worked, but did. I'm like, Abe actually didn't show up. He didn't actually show up later. I mean, there should have been a little more to that story. I also want to note that Cameron is not having the best time because
no, he looks amazing.
Yes, they dropped the car off at a garage with a very seedy and untrustworthy attendant. And, Cameron is very worried about his father's car. And I totally understand.
I totally agree. I always worry about wherever I park my car. My car is nowhere near any value that their car is. care where I am, but
yes. But that seedy attendant has a black friend that hops in the car and they just ride around to the Star Wars theme music.
Hilarious. Good old time.
Yes. Meanwhile, Principal Rooney has taken it upon himself to go off campus and personally hunt Ferris down. He goes to a local spot where he thinks it's Ferris and it's actually a woman, and she, gets him back. And he almost, this is one thing I will say that I enjoyed about this movie was all of the close calls. Like Ferris ended up catching a ball at a game while Rooney was in front of the TV, but he misses it. And, there's multiple times where they run into other people, right? So, like, he almost runs into his dad at the fancy restaurant that they go to, or when he's stuck in a cab next to them.
Yeah, right.
His mom comes home to try to see if he's actually in bed after Rooney calls her about his multiple absences. And so there's a lot of close calls that happen in the story, and I like the way that they navigate how they get out of it. Okay, Principal Rooney even goes so far as to go to the Bueller house, get chased by their Rottweiler, which this is not a Rottweiler family. I don't know. I feel like I was quite surprised for them to have a Rottweiler.
Right. And they never referenced it or anything beforehand. I was like, oh, they got a dog. And not just any dog, a mean dog.
Yes, a big scary dog. Yes. But Rooney gets chased by the dog, loses a shoe in the mud, accidentally gets kicked in the face by Jeannie when he breaks into their house. And,
I think that's so funny.
It's so weird.
It's so hilarious, though.
Jeannie kicks him in the face. That was hilarious. His car got towed, and his entire day is a comedy of disasters. The other thing that I enjoyed about this is that we keep contrasting how poorly Rooney's day is going with how well the day is going for, Ferris and his friends. So I enjoyed that about the storytelling element and the way it was edited. Now, back at school, well, Jeannie was at school earlier in the movie, and she was steaming, right? And she's trying to figure out, am I tripping because of how much I hate how Ferris gets away with things? And I thought it was funny when she got upset about them raising money for him. And the guy called her a heartless wench. That was funny to me. But yeah, like you said earlier, she really cannot escape the amount of influence that Ferris has. Like, it's literally inescapable. But back downtown, Ferris and crew end up stumbling into a German-American parade on Dearborn Street, and Ferris somehow gets himself onto a float and proceeds to limp sync Danke Schoen and then twist and shout to 10,000 extras on the streets of Chicago. And apparently this inspires a full block party. Like, there was a flash mob of people doing Jackson 5 dance moves, people releasing balloons and dancing all around the float, and, backup dancers. And so by the end of this part of the movie, everyone is starting to make their way back towards home. Their big day is pretty much over, and they got to set everything back right. Cameron is preoccupied and anxious, and they do end up getting the car back in what seems to be decent condition, which seems impossible to me considering how they were flying through the streets, but okay. Rooney is a disaster with one shoe on and a muddy sock, which sounds awful. And Ferris is floating through his day without a care in the world, really. Now, Dad, what do you think about the day out, these kids' day out, and Rooney and, Jeannie and all of their shenanigans?
As we were talking earlier, this is almost what you dream about, living near a city. I lived in New York City. I said, oh, that'd be so cool. I've gone to the city as a kid and with friends, but, now we might have cut school and went to the Bronx to do something, come back. But the Bronx and Manhattan is different, just talking about the city. Mm-hmm. But it's always like a fantasy. Everybody else is in school. We're in the city hanging out. That was the thing. Mm-hmm. And when he said, do you realize right now we'd be in PE class with Mr. So-and-so right now? And he goes, yeah, that is pretty cool. And so we always fantasized about that. But
Dad, did you skip school? Were you a skipper?
Not really. It was senior skip day. I did that. Maybe left early one time, but never really a full day. But, here and there, maybe a little something, but nothing to get on your grandmother's radar. So, yeah. Yeah. So I don't want to be on that. But that's the whole premise of the movie, skipping school to do this adventure. And having if you live out in the middle of nowhere, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So it's like this,
Cow
when you go
tipping.
to the city, you're really going to, right. You're really going to go do something. You're really going to the city to do stuff. Yeah, the thing about Rooney in his car. His car is called a K car.
Okay.
Your great grandmother had one of those in Florida, and that was first car I actually drove.
Okay.
We drove up and down her street a few times, and that's the first car actually. I've always gotten a car started and go anywhere, other place, but that was the first car I actually drove a little bit. So that makes me smile every time I see that. You said Rooney also went to go look for Ferris, and he was at the arcade, and that was an arcade they were at, and that was always the place you cut and went to school to, or you went to school before or after school. That was a hangout. So especially in the 80s, there are arcades everywhere, and you can go do that. So that's one of the first places he would go look. Made a lot of sense. The museum was a nice touch. So I always thought if you ever got caught, say, hey, we did get some culture while we were we did, it wasn't all fun and games. We went and got some culture. The guy at the restaurant, the greeter, what do you want to call him? The maitre d', what do you want to call him?
Yes,
He's another 80s guy that was always the snotty guy.
Okay.
The jerk that he was in a couple other movies doing the same kind of thing. So it was good to see him. The museum, the parade. I was like, why are they singing Dankeschön? But then as I watched the movie over and over again, I said, oh, it's a German-American parade. So when you told me it was all extra and it was all, I said, that was a lot of production. I thought this was, okay, the parade is here. We're going to get in there and do some things, and we'll just film it and all these people in it. But that was, when you said that was all production and produce, I know, of course, the flash mob and all that, but the crowd of people and the actual parade and the floats, wow, I know there were people upset because there had to been stuff shut down and people couldn't get around, but that was
for two
very
Saturdays
well
in a row.
Right. And it looked like springtime at least. It was because he said in June and the weather was nice, and it's Chicago. I'm assuming it's got to be May by now. Chicago, it's got to be at least May. April in Chicago is not fun. So and they were in the pool a couple of places, and I'm like, and people were laying out. I'm like, okay, this might have been for the movie, but I'm thinking it's in May at least to have all this. And also, Chicago is a character in its own in this movie. And John Hughes, that's his place.
Yes.
A lot of his movies take place in Chicago, and the city usually has something to do with it. They'll go in the city to do some 16 Candles.
Home Alone
Weird
took
Science.
place in Chicago,
Yeah.
the first one.
Yeah. Breakfast Club was Chicago. It was the suburbs. I don't remember they went anywhere. No, they were in the library the whole time. But but the Chicago aspect of this was really, a whole thing in itself. And that's, I always thought that was kind of cool. I'm assuming that's his hometown.
I want to say no. I think
notice?
he's from Michigan or Minnesota. I'm one of those.
So Michigan, maybe that's the jersey, the Detroit jersey. Maybe it's like, I want you to wear this, so it's a nod to Michigan or whatever. The German parade. When you say he kicked the principal, she didn't recognize her principal. Her principal. That's one thing that
these
bothered me.
close calls are crazy. I could see her reacting in the moment and not fully
Just
taking in his face, like, because she pops up around the corner and just sees a man, and Chuck Norris, that man is a
Two
tall
times.
guy. Like
that was pretty funny.
Got him good. But yeah, there's a moment later where the mom doesn't see Ferris, and I'm like, she see him?
Right.
Yeah, some of the close calls were
And
like,
the dad too. I'm like, he's done he did like 3 double takes to dad in this movie. I'm like, I can recognize my child anywhere. I don't know what's going on. But it's still funny. It's still great comedy. It's still a little, and it to keep doing the recurring thing, and it keeps happening. It's funny. It works well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's, I mean, I didn't feel it as much, but I would imagine that if it was, back in the day, closer to when the film came out, that there would be a lot of tension of like, is he going to get caught? Like, is he going to get caught by his parents or his sister or, or Rooney? And there's supposed to be a lot of tension there. But for some reason, when I was watching it, I was like, Ferris always gets what he wants. I don't know why this would be different. So I don't know if I was jaded and was like, there's no way he's going to get caught. So to me, there wasn't as much tension as there probably should have been for me. Let's talk about Cameron a little bit for this part of the movie. Because I feel like a lot of this is Cameron's story, even though the movie is about Ferris. Yeah. There's a moment at the stock exchange when Cameron is just in his own world, like making faces and noises.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really like Cameron. He's just so fun, like, and quirky. And when Ferris talked about, he mentioned in the bathroom. Let's talk about the bathroom scene a little, because there are multiple parts in this movie where Ferris is talking to us, but nobody else can hear him. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, just the fourth wall thing. Yeah,
right. And it's like, okay, Ferris just did like a whole monologue in the bathroom talking about Cameron and how Cameron is always sick and his home life, and then his dad comes out of the stall and it's like, you didn't hear your son
right
talking to us.
Yeah, and then remember the attendant was sitting in there and he was attendant. So that was funny. Yeah. But I thought that was another almost caught scene. But and then they're in front of the restaurant talking, and they're standing right there,
right behind. Yes.
But it's just, I think it's just more to use that. If it was a play, you'd have a guy there, and so something like that. So I get that, but it was still hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to realize how fresh this movie was as far as. I got where he got some. There were 60s movies that were madcap, where stuff was happening. Like, there's a movie called It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World, where stuff was running around, stuff was happening. What's Up, Doc? There's another movie where a whole bunch of stuff is happening, and it's kind of what they call slapstick, but also it's fast-paced, and there's jokes that are running throughout the whole movie. So he got some of this from those older crazy movies, but those were all adults. That was a bunch of adult stuff. This was kids, and right in the middle of the 80s, it was so fresh. So I want to say it was new, and kids loved it. Yeah. Adults did too, I would say.
Okay. I could see that. I agree that it was kind of like a play, where like you don't have the dynamics of, a film set, and so people are literally right next to each other, but then one person could talk to the audience. So I just thought that was very interesting. I want to talk about Cameron. The thing about Cameron being sick, or Ferris saying that Cameron was like almost relished being sick. Do you think what do you think that was about? I understand that he had a difficult home life with parents that didn't love each other, and his dad loves the car more than he loves Cameron. But I'm like, is he a hypochondriac? Is he self-medicating?
That's part of it.
I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm definitely a hypochondriac, just sick all the time. And if you looked at the house, he said it was a sterile house. It was cold. So that kind of fit in with his whole personality. But then again, like you said before, how are they friends? It doesn't, that kind of doesn't jive, You think he'd just be a loner by himself, but I guess, like, them being lifelong friends, and he was just, Ferris was like, I got to get him out of this. And it's going to take something huge, which I would think, I don't know. I've always wondered, I know it's fiction, but I want to see a scene. What happens afterwards? Didn't need a sequel. I just wanted to see what happens. I don't know. It was so dramatic, and I want to say expensive. I I don't know. And then also what happens with his relationship with his dad, from then on.
Right.
And the classic 80s thing was something dramatic happens. Oh, it's bad, but they come around. The dad comes around and goes, I immediately, I mean, not immediately, but I get, I've been this dad, or I haven't been much of a father, and this is what it's come to, that I've done this, been relishing this car, and me and my wife don't get along. I didn't know he knew that, and, it could come around to that. But I've always wondered. I said, I don't need a whole sequel, but I could use like
some closure?
I don't
know. Like a little...
Some closure, yeah.
A little closure?
Yeah. Yeah, just see, yeah. But yeah, Cameron, he has his idiosyncrasies, doesn't think they like to say, but great character.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've always... Low-key, probably my favorite character in the movie.
I mean, mine too.
Yeah. I mean, of course you love Ferris, but I mean, it's... You actually think he's doing all this for him. That's what it seems to be for.
Was that obvious to you before he said it? Was it obvious that this day was for Cameron before he said it?
No, and it still wasn't obvious until years and years later, really. I'm not going to say it. And, when I just rewatched it, usually when I'm rewatching it, I'm doing something else. But no, I sat down and watched it. No distraction. Nobody was home. I watched it. And I'm listening to his monologues about Cameron and Cameron's own monologues about him and his family and his relationship with Ferris. I'm like, oh, wow, this was really a friendship story, even though it was called Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
All right, let's talk about the parade.
Okay.
Specifically the twist and shout scene, because I understand that on some level this is a movie where we're supposed to suspend our disbelief. And I have generally been willing to do that. This whole film, I mean, Ferris, his parents believing that he's sick, whatever. Okay. The restaurant thing where he's able to weasel his way into a table, whatever. But what I'm not able to get behind is how his blah, lackluster lip sync performance, where he is not giving a good performance, not really moving or singing or dancing very well, somehow inspires a downtown Chicago block party, with a Jackson 5 inspired flash mob. I'm not buying it. That was when I was like, Matthew Broderick is really not like lip syncing for his life. He's not giving this like amazing performance that would inspire, this many people to get behind it. That's something that I was like, it feels unearned. What do you think about the the parade?
Once again, I go back to the 80s. It was just put a white kid out there singing and it's good to go. I hate to say it, that's what it was. It was, I mean, and put some black people dancing and everybody's good to go. That part was a little something now, but back then it was, hey, it's a good time. And I thought it was very well produced as far as thinking the parade is already a parade and they just put this stuff in there and all these people in. Of course the people dancing them, right? But it's so classic a scene. I've got blinders on when I'm just like, yeah, I know that's Wayne Newton singing that song, really, the Dog of Shane. Even though it sounds like a woman, I had to like research that. I'm like, okay, I think he's saying it.
Wait,
but it sounds
were
like
we supposed to believe that it was him singing? I thought he was just lip syncing.
Yeah, I think no, on purpose. I don't think we were supposed to believe that. But
okay.
According to the credits, that was Wayne Newton singing that version that was playing.
Okay.
And I always thought it sounded
like a woman.
It did sound like a woman, but that's what the credits said. So I don't know. But
okay.
It was a little puzzling about, okay, it's lip syncing, that's fine, but it was, it was the 80s, man. Some of the stuff, I told you about these 80s movies, some of it just make it look like a good time. Put some music, get some people dancing. It doesn't have to make too much sense. But
look, the crowd was like, the energy was good.
Yes.
Like you could feel the energy in the street as they're dancing.
You really could.
I just didn't feel like his performance warranted it. Twist and Shout
Right.
is a song that people love throughout history. I don't know how old that song is, but it probably came out in 50s, 60s. I don't know.
Well,
how
that
old
was
it is. Maybe
according to the credits, and I thought that was the Beatles singing that one.
Oh, was
But
it?
according to the credits,
Okay.
and I thought I heard their voices in there, but I think it's older than them, and they just covered it.
Right.
So I'd have to do some research on it, but yeah, very popular. What they call and response, and the and that's crowd involvement, and and they did that a couple of times, and it was like, oh yeah, it's it was visually great, and this they did a good job. That's why I was always so impressed with it. But
it's very interesting because when I watched it, I was like, the black flash mob was a surprise. I don't know that I expected to see any black faces in this movie. But to see a whole flash mob was very interesting. And their dance moves, I was like, they are dancing like Jackson 5. Like there's the little point and neck thing that they do.
Yep.
And interestingly enough, I saw in the credits that Kenny Ortega was the choreographer, and he has choreographed for Michael Jackson.
Hilarious. I did not know that.
So,
and it made, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
It made sense.
So yeah, for me, while I liked the scene and I felt like it was like hype and there was a lot of energy, I felt like Matthew Broderick's performance just wasn't that good.
And I think they edited enough to where if he didn't have those background dancers on the float with him and the crowd around him, I think they had to edit enough to where I see what you're saying. But the lip syncing was weird. It still was weird to me. That's knowing like, wow, that's not it.
Yeah. I mean, that's where like those other guys that they were considering for the role, that particular role would have like that particular scene would have been way different. Like if Tom Cruise was doing it or Jim Carrey was doing it. That's really Matthew Broderick's performance was fine for the whole movie. And all of the actors did great. There was nobody who I thought was bad or anything. But I think that one particular scene is where he could have kicked it up a notch. And that didn't work for me.
I told you the 80s, make it easy. Just throw music, lip sync, white kid out there doing something, and you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and there's a quick scene where Sloane and Cameron are alone because he's singing on the float, and they have a little bit of a discussion about Cameron and his thoughts about his future and, what he's going to be doing and where he's going. And this helps lay more of the groundwork of why Ferris is doing this for him. Just the insecurity and uncertainty that he feels about his own life. This auto framing thing keeps moving. I'm not going to do anything about it, but it's weird. So yeah, I thought that was interesting and was one of the more sincere parts of the movie without Ferris there. And we also get to see a little bit of Sloane.
Right.
And her being, being a listening ear.
Right.
Yeah. Without the silly goose bothering them. Okay. All right, let's move on to the last part of the movie as we wrap things up. So we're heading into the final stretch. The parking attendant brings back the Ferrari. Cameron was right to be worried. And we find out that the odometer now has like 125 more miles than it did when they left the car. And Cameron, who was already barely holding it together, screams and basically goes catatonic.
Right.
Back at the Bueller house. Oh, we talked about it already when Jeannie attacks him, but we didn't say that Jeannie actually called the police because she didn't know who he was. And even if she did know who he was, he still deserved to have the police called on him. And he also ended up leaving his wallet behind. So she ends up getting taken into the police station. Oh, but before that, she thinks the police are arriving to the house, but it's like this weird, nasty candygram with a sexy nurse. Dad, was that Louis Anderson?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
yes, okay. And he was there earlier when he went to flowers that Rooney gave to the dog. He delivered earlier, but they didn't focus him. They showed him from a distance getting back in the van. But yeah, that was Louis Anderson.
I thought it was funny when Rooney did the double bird thing. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
When he flipped him off.
Funny.
That was, it was so funny to me. But yeah, Rooney did poison their dog too. Yeah, he deserved to have the police called on him. Right. But she ends up getting taken into the police station because the police believe that she filed a false report.
Right.
And so at the police station, Jeannie meets a bad boy played by Charlie Sheen. My understanding is that this is his first role ever, if I'm not mistaken, from his docuseries that recently came out, like within the past year, about his life. I'm pretty sure that was his first role. Apparently he was dating her in real life at the time.
Oh, okay. And
he delivers some unsolicited life advice about her wearing too much makeup, which is crossing the line, and advice about how she needs to stop obsessing over her brother and worry about herself, which I agree with, because Jeannie was basically miserable. Right? She was making herself miserable.
I thought that was a good scene. And Charlie Sheen, nowadays it was a cameo, but it wasn't a cameo. And that makes sense that they might have been dating because he was a Hollywood kid. Charlie Sheen, him and Emilio Estevez were Martin Sheen's very accomplished actor's son. So they'd be in that circle. So, but what was funny, Charlie Sheen said something about drugs, and she asked, "Why are you here?" He says drugs, and now Charlie Sheen of the year, we coming down the line at him being. I thought that was funny. I just now when I saw it, oh wow, that's pretty funny. Charlie Sheen and drugs, but that was a good scene. And
we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that scene in particular. But yeah, meanwhile, Ferris takes Cameron and Sloane somewhere with a jacuzzi. Whose house were they at? We don't know.
I don't know. I was confused too. I always thought it was Ferris's house, but then that doesn't make sense because he's running to the house. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, who knows? Cameron is still basically catatonic. He's staring at the bottom of the pool, and then he falls into it, kind of pretending to drown. This scares Ferris, and then when Ferris goes to rescue him, and then he pops up like, psych, I was just playing. And then, Cameron is not catatonic anymore. He's kind of back to being himself and enjoying himself.
I thought this was weird. At the swimming pool, Sloane, she's in the water up to her neck. And I always thought she had like a bathing suit on, but I don't know, wow, now I just realized it looked like she had like a nightie on or a negligee. It just would have looked like. I was like, what? And then I'm like, did they have underclothes on? Did the boys? I couldn't tell. I was like, did they not have a swimsuit? And they were just like, hey, whatever you got on underneath, we're just swimming. We're just hanging out. But I always thought that was weird. But it was confusing about whose pool it was.
Yeah. Also, she said something weird to Cameron. She said everybody goes to the zoo at some point. Or I was like, girl, what are you talking
I heard
about?
that. I was like, I didn't make any sense. I'm like, maybe there's a line cut from earlier. Maybe they went to the zoo and they cut that scene out. I don't know. I really didn't realize until recently. I was like, I just watched. I'm like, all right, I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
I know that there is a baseball field that is called the zoo, but I feel like that's in New York and not Chicago.
It's Wrigley Field. Wrigley Field is where the Cubs play. That's the game they went to. Oh, speaking of that, did you notice it said "Save Ferris" on the billboard outside the stadium? Did you notice? Did you catch that? Yeah.
No, I only saw it on the tower, the water tower.
Right, there was an electronic billboard, scoreboard outside the stadium. That it's classic. It whatever street that is, people ride by and you look, and if they're playing the scores up, and there's maybe some graphics of a home run or something, but a real old school board, but it said "Save Ferris" on it. I don't know if you caught that.
I missed that one. Yeah. It's everywhere. That's hilarious. So yeah, Cameron's back to normal. They go back to Cameron's house and the garage, where Ferris thinks he can roll the odometer back by running the car in reverse with the brick on the gas. And of course it doesn't work. Exactly.
Even as a kid, I was like, that is you can't possibly think that will work. I didn't know nothing about cars, but yeah. So
Yeah. But Cameron starts to talk about his life, and we kind of get his cathartic moment. He talks about how, when he was in that catatonic state, he was kind of meditating and almost had an out of body experience, and that he acknowledged that this was like one of the best days of his life, or the best day of his life, and that he's going to miss his friends when they, inevitably separate to go off to college, and Sloan is going to still be in high school. And when they realize that the odometer thing isn't working, Ferris is like, well, we're just going to have to do it by hand. And Cameron is like, you know what, forget it. Okay. And he kind of has his own breakthrough a little bit. He starts kicking the car, and he's basically saying, his dad bullies him. His dad cares more about the car than he does, and he's ready to take a stand. So he's kicking the car while the brick is still on the gas and it's going in reverse, and, the car is dented, and like, this is his way of standing up for himself. And it's like, I'm just going to deal with dad when he comes home, and, we're going to talk it out or whatever. And, he's going to face the music with the odometer not being right. And then he kind of puts his leg up on the car in triumph. But that pushes the car to go in reverse through the back window of this fancy glass garage. And the car lands in a gully. What was 1 of 100 is now 0 of 99. So, yeah. He totally destroys the classic car.
Not to even mention the damage to the garage.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So Ferris offers to take the blame, but Cameron says no, and that he's going to own it. And Ferris is like, your dad doesn't like me anyway, I'll take the blame.
Yeah.
And Cameron's like,
so that
no,
tells me a lot too about their relationship, like, maybe he's gotten into him in trouble before, and the dad was like, you're hanging out with Ferris. And maybe that's another reason why they stayed friends. Look, my dad doesn't like him. Oh, he's my friend. I'm still hanging out with him. Just to show my dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be something to do with,
Do you think the offer for Ferris to take the blame was genuine? Or is it like one of those things where you fake out? And you start to pull out your wallet when the check comes, but you are secretly hoping that somebody else pays.
You think Ferris did that on purpose? I don't know. Not out of the realm of possibility. But he also wanted Cameron to rebel and to speak up for himself and take a stand. So maybe he kind of did it to make Cameron say, no, I'll do it. And once he did it, oh, fine.
Yeah. I don't think Ferris could not have known about the car falling into the gully. Of
course. Right. Oh, no.
But I think that he kind of faked Cameron out. I think, it wouldn't have hurt him at all to actually take the blame. And I do think a chunk of the blame should definitely sit with Ferris. I thought it was very interesting that Cameron was like, I could have told you no. I could have not brought you to the garage. It was very interesting the amount of responsibility he took for it when he was under the influence of Ferris Bueller, who always gets his way.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also get Jeannie's mom, Miss Bueller, comes to pick up Jeannie from the police department, totally in disbelief about what's going on.
Had a crush on the mom, too. That haircut.
Really?
The mom and their haircut was a fly. The haircut was it. That was a fly haircut.
Really?
Like the mom. Yeah, it was only the hair. Everything else was 80s era, but something about the haircut I really liked. But go ahead.
Jeannie is making out with Charlie Sheen in the police department. We'll talk about that too. That was weird. But anyways, Ferris takes Sloan home. They have this nice moment where they're making out, and we find out that Ferris is playing 4D chess, and that it was his whole plan all along to get what's his name out of his shell, Cameron. And, you know, he only has a few minutes to get home before his family starts to arrive. So we see this rush scene where he is, you know, rushing home through the neighborhood to make sure the ruse is kept up that he's sick. And so as he's running, Jeannie is driving as she's being yelled at by her mom, and they almost hit Ferris. And so Jeannie looks at him, but the mom is so distracted she doesn't see him until Jeannie starts to rush home. Now, in this moment, I'm thinking that Jeannie did not take Charlie Sheen's advice and is trying to blow up his spot.
Right.
And get home before Ferris so she can point out to her parents that he's been faking. That was my initial thought. And so we also see that the dad is coming home too. And so there are multiple instances where Ferris is almost caught by his parents and his family on the way home. And, you know, Jeannie is driving so fast they get pulled over, maybe, by the police. But
she runs from him for a while, though. She doesn't pull over right away. When they pass the dad, remember,
and the dad didn't notice. I mean, it's a lot of close calls in this film. But finally, he arrives at the back door of his house, and he can't get in, and he's looking for the key, and Rooney, with no shoe, gets the key, and he's like, I finally got you. And interestingly enough, the parents come home. They have a weird conversation in the driveway. When the mom tells the dad about what's going on, he was like, let's shoot her. I'm like, excuse me?
That's
what?
Look, I can relate as a husband. When you have a whole day at work and you see your spouse and something's, you know, happened, and you try to make a little levity of it, like to bring the other person down, to say something off the wall. So it took me a while to get that. I was just pure comedy, but I kind of see where he was trying to, all right, let's calm down, basically, without telling somebody to calm down. So, but it was out of left field, though. I give you that.
And somehow Jeannie makes it in the house before her parents. I don't know if I was looking down and taking notes or I missed it, but she makes it into the house before the parents get in the house and settled. And so she hears Rooney on the other side of the back door, you know, talking about how he finally caught Ferris, and, you know, Ferris is going to get it now, and all of that stuff. And she
ruined his whole life, basically.
Yes. And she ends up covering for him, which was very interesting. And she even winks at Ferris, and it's like, okay, so she did take Charlie's advice. So now I'm trying to figure out, was it her intention to get home to cover for her brother? Or did she initially plan on getting him in trouble, and when she found Rooney's wallet in the house, she decided and changed her mind to cover for him? I don't know.
Along with the speech, along with what she heard him say, him say through the door. I think she was going to try to catch him, but then when she got there and put those two things together, like, oh, forget this guy. My brother. That's my brother. I'm gonna, you know, stick up for him. Yeah. That's another thing I want, not the sequel, but my little closure. Where did they go from there? You know, him and his sister, their relationship. And to answer that question, are they twins or not?
Yes. Exactly, yes. But yeah, she covers for him. She hands Rooney back his wallet. And, you know, that storyline is over. Oh, and Rooney has to run from the dog again. The dog attacks him. Right. Ferris manages to dive into bed and get his room, you know, fixated so that when his parents come up to visit him, he is, you know, still recovering from being sick, and his parents, who have missed him like 12 times in this movie, are rest assured that he's been home asleep the whole time. The credits roll. We see Rooney being picked up by a bus driver. And that scene was long and awkward. Him sitting next to that weird girl and him offering that gummy bear. She was a strange girl, and him to be just so beat up and defeated. It was like, okay, the bad guy didn't win. Ferris comes out on top, which I appreciate. And then Ferris comes back on the screen after the credits role and is like, hey, you're still here, go home, which I was like, that probably was pretty new at the time.
Yeah, definitely. And that what makes me think I've seen this in the theater, because I want to say we were still sitting there.
Okay.
And that came on, and that was really, we're like, oh, wow, did anybody see that? You know, everybody that left didn't see that. We saw that. Mm-hmm. And then I realized those were some short credits.
They were very short.
They were really short. But also that was a lot of John Hughes on the bus with you got all those kids on the bus, and each kid was different. That's why I said he's able to tap in. And almost every movie he has a group, a scene, got a lot of bus scenes. We got more than one bus scene, not a lot. But he's also got a group of kids where each kid is individual, and they each have their own little thing going on, and it was so good. But I don't know if you caught this, but when he's about to get caught by his parents and he lays down, and the sound machine is going off. Mm-hmm. What does he take out of his and throw at the machine to shut it off?
It was a baseball, huh?
The baseball from the he caught at the Cubs game.
Oh, okay.
It was in his back pocket.
I didn't put that together.
Yeah. So there's all these little things that you see. That was from the great day he had. This is what he's had in his pocket. He caught a foul ball, which is a great thing for a boy, you know. And it was able to save him at the end. And of course, it falls perfectly in the glove, you know. Just
right,
you know, right. But the credit scene was a new thing, and that was cool.
Yeah, so the movie's over. I want to talk a little bit about Cameron's breakdown scene, because I see what the movie was going for. Like, we're supposed to have positive feelings about Cameron growing a backbone, realizing how much he actually enjoyed the day. And, you know, the thing Ferris kept mentioning was that he kept calling Cameron uptight. And so we see him loosening up, but also getting a spine. And so we're supposed to believe that Ferris orchestrated this day to help him come out of his shell before they go off to college. And again, I think that is laudable. However, I don't know if the ends justify the means.
Right.
I mean, he's let everyone push him around, including Ferris. I'm also curious about how their dynamic changes if he's standing up for himself, right? Is Ferris going to be able to rope him into things still? I don't know. That's another closure thing. But the issue for me when it comes to Cameron's like newfound spine, I don't know. Ferris still was manipulative, like throughout the day. Yeah. You know, he hit Cameron at one point in the movie. He used him. He put him in situations that Cameron didn't want to be in. And I think the most dangerous part, and I think this is my 2026 brain, was we're not led to believe that Cameron's father is physically abusive to him. But we know that his father has been neglectful of him, and that his father loves that car. Right. And has been, he said his father pushes him around, and we don't know if that's physical or if just, you know, in a bullying manner, mentally. But for you to orchestrate a day where a very rare car gets damaged, kind of puts Cameron in danger. Like, we literally don't know. Like you mentioned earlier, like in movies, we have this belief that like, oh, something crazy happens and then the person comes around and they realize they've been neglectful and they promise to make it right. But for some people, that's literally not the way it happens. His dad could send him to military school or, you know, physically assault him, or, you know, I feel like it's a little more dangerous than they played it up to be. To me, that kind of doesn't hold up. This whole thing kind of reminds me, and Cameron deciding to take the blame for everything, even though Ferris played his part, reminded me of Mean Girls. You've seen Mean Girls, right, Dad? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Mean Girls, I recently reviewed it with my sisters, and there's a moment where the protagonist, Katie, who didn't write the burn book that had all of the insults and stuff in it, but got caught up in everything, decides to take responsibility. And so she owns up to the situation, even though she wasn't fully to blame. And that's a moment of growth for that protagonist. But I feel like Cameron's moment is supposed to be something similar, but it feels like Cameron owning up to it when a lot of it was orchestrated by Ferris doesn't feel as good as Katie owning up to the burn book. I saw a lot of parallels, and this speaks to John Hughes's influence, because if we think about Regina George, the head mean girl in Mean Girls, versus Ferris, they have a lot of similarities. As far as their social cachet, they're both rich. They both have interesting relationships with like the administration in the school. They both have people that follow them around and, either fear them or really love them. They both are very manipulative of the people around them. So there were certain elements that I saw in Mean Girls that kind of overlapped with Ferris Bueller, which I thought was really interesting.
Okay. I see where you see that, and I can kind of see that, but it's fun. I just love how we're going to draw you in with the comedy, with the kids, with the high school. Mm-hmm. But there's something deeper going on, more or less, and, we're going to get that lesson across, and you're going to see it, whether you want to or not. And, and like it may not be right away. Like I told you, of course I got it. Oh yeah, he's out of his shell. But to really think about, this is a whole little plan to help Cameron, but like do the end justify the mean. And I still don't forgive him about the car. That's the biggest part. The emotional damage maybe, or whatever, was one thing. But I'm just like, the car was so cool, and you basically destroyed it. So, and it's not going to be on you. So that is. Yeah.
Do you think that it could, back to what I was saying about Cameron and the amount of trouble that he could have got into with his dad? What do you think about my analysis of that? Like, it could have actually gone really poorly for Cameron, and it was quite reckless.
Right. It could have been, you don't know how. I mean, I don't even know, as a father now, how would I act? I come home, my car's in my backyard wrecked. And I'm like, it could have gone any other way. Like I said, we're not sure if there was physical abuse. We know there was emotional abuse. It just being as loaded as they were, how much money they had, maybe that financial wouldn't be that bad, but maybe insurance would cover it. I don't see how. They'd be like, how did the car get wrecked? Your son had it. Oh, we're dropping you. You know what I mean? You're not even right. So I don't know, but I don't know what. It could have gone several ways, and like I said, the worst being they'll never speak to each other again. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I mean, he talked about his dad spent 3 years restoring the car. And it meant something to his dad. So I just didn't like how flippant they were about the consequences. And I understand that Ferris is this kid who people really love, and he could weasel his way out of anything, and he can get into places where he shouldn't be. But I felt like with Cameron, he was particularly reckless, which adds to him being less likable in my eyes.
I see where you're seeing it now, but
yeah.
On a side note, that really wasn't a Ferrari. They said it was a replica. A couple of replicas they used. That were,
okay.
So they really, the car is really that valuable. The year and the make and the model is really where there's no way they could afford it to wreck a real one.
Exactly.
So
yes.
I want to say, and that was some fact I read a long time ago, and I was like, oh yeah, it was made to look like that, or somehow, you're able to do that, and it's probably some supercar Ferrari nerd. No, that's not it. That's not the car. The fender, the light, the wheels, or whatever. It's not it, but it's over $1 million car, even back then, I believe. So yeah. Let's talk about Jeannie a little bit in the scene with Charlie Sheen, because I have mixed feelings about her arc. So she's at the police station with Charlie Sheen, and his eyes look so weird. His eyes, something about his eyes, it was like they were pink, like the
I don't understand. I don't know. Anyways, so he gives her good advice on the part about her needing to focus on herself and not being so worried about Ferris. So I agree with that part of the message, because I agree that she either needed to figure out how to play along or just ignore her brother, or figure out how to take advantage of it and make it advantageous to her. And that reminds me of like Erica from Stranger Things. Is it Luke? I can't remember the boy's name. Luke's little sister. And it's like, okay, she figured out how to be a part of the shenanigans and get the things that she wanted. And I'm like, Jeannie that's the type of wavelength that she should be on. But anyways, she was just making herself miserable, and I agree with that part of the message. But I don't like the way the movie delivers the lesson, because Charlie Sheen's character opens the conversation by telling Jeannie she basically looks like a whore, wearing too much eye makeup. So immediately he's negging her, so I don't like that. I also don't... I mean, he's literally at the gas station for drugs, and he has this bad boy aesthetic, right? He insulted her, and he gives her unsolicited advice, and then she's making out with him. And I'm like, I don't like that this bad boy attraction situation. Like, it's one thing if he was another student at the school who was maybe truant a little bit, but this man is at a police station for drugs. Like, that's a different type of bad boy.
Right. And I think that's the point that we're trying to get. She's so mature for her school and all the kids there. You see, she had all kinds of disdain for them.
Yes.
So this is what, I guess they showed, this is what the kind of guy that will break through to her. You know what I mean? That will get her, or I don't want to say put her in check, but to break through her ice level, what do you want to call it? And him saying that about her, I've seen guys that's their way in, their first
negging.
line. Yeah. And
are you familiar with that term, Dad?
Negging, yeah.
It's a newer term. Okay.
Yeah. And I can figure out what you're. It's almost like nagging, but also really telling you something to get in on the inside, and really to see how you respond. See how you respond. If you respond outlandish to it, that's what some people want. Or if you take it to heart, then even if it doesn't go nothing from there, somebody's told you a little something. So I think that was the big point, to show her personality and her whole aura was, I've got a hard shell. Nobody's getting through this, and it's going to take some crazy knucklehead in the police station in there for drugs to at least break the ice. But for them to go from that to making out is wild.
It is. I mean, there are some men whose whole thing when they approach women is to neg them, or to say like, your hair is pretty, but it would look better if you wore it down. And it's like, don't insult me. Like, and do this underhanded compliment thing. Yeah. I just didn't like it.
I mean, the kiss, them ended up kissing is a little like, something like getting your number or something like that would have been a little cuter. But I guess to show that he got through her to that much, or she was opened up that much, or they ended up kissing. I see that too, but I thought it was a little much to kissing. But him being older, but then she's older, so they, like I said, they were already dating. They looked about the same age if you look at him. But we're saying, well, he's not in school, he's not locked up, but he's in here for a crime, so you think he's older. But I think they just played on the fact that they looked about the same age.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the bad boy, kiss the guy who insulted you kind of thing. I think there was a different way they could have done it, but it is what it is. Again, I think Sloane could have had a little bit more personality. We could have at least learned a little bit about her family, her background, besides having a fake dead grandmother. I think she deserved more. Her personality was basically being Ferris's girlfriend and a listening ear to camera. Also, why did Jeannie say people call her Shauna?
I don't know.
Who calls you Shauna?
Like, right. That was just out of left field. I'm like, and I just remember it. Then there's the little background singers that go
song.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, I remember that's the way they don't say Jeannie. They say, and then she said it, Sean. I'm like, yeah, that was out of left field. So I don't know.
The little weird song in the background, that was funny to me. That I was like, girl, nobody
Right.
calls you Shauna. What you talking about?
Maybe she was trying
Yeah.
to be cool. I don't know. And he didn't call it. He goes, okay, Jeannie. Yeah, I'm not falling for that either. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was one female character we were talking about, the Rooney's aide, the secretary, whatever you want to call her.
Oh, I liked her.
I like her. She's been in a couple of. You've seen her and stuff. I know you
Yes.
have. And her Midwestern accent was so heavy. It was funny, and her little speeches about the Dweezos, the Sportos, they all love him, and they think he's a righteous dude. I just love that. I love hearing her talk, and you know, she's a bit of a ditz. Like every 80s movie's got a little ditzy person in there. And him giving her the look when she says something that wasn't too smart. I was like, Rudy, you're such a ugh. But yeah, we forgot to talk about she was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed her. I think my favorite part was when she called Jeannie an asshole. That was so
Yeah.
I was like, that is hilarious.
And to think that your administrators at your school, when you walk out of the office, like, you know, what they really think about you. Oh, that's probably.
Yes.
I think that had something to do, you know. Someone in his research, he was probably like, he must have asked the staff that, do you talk bad about the kids when you're not here?
Yeah. Very interesting. Oh, also, John Hughes did one of my favorite movies that I reviewed, Uncle Buck. Which I'm
Chicago.
I'm a big fan of that movie. Also in Chicago, yeah.
That was Chicago.
Also, annoying administrators at the school.
Oh, yes. It's a theme, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool beans. Now, the pancake, you know, that's giant pancake. Okay, well,
I told
that's
you,
the end of
you got to
the
watch that
movie,
documentary on John Candy real quick. Don't forget.
That's right. Right. I did. Okay. I'll have to check that out. All right, cool. Well, that's the end of the movie. So we got to answer the same two questions that we ask, you know, at the end of every review. Does it hold up today? And is it worth a rewatch? Dad, what do you think?
As far as holding up the 80s tropes, it not the kids, the communication, you know, think of cell phones, period. And what you can get away with, what you can't get away with. The relationships with the parents are not going to, you know, you're not going to fall over in that. So some of it doesn't hold up is in that aspect, just technology, just want to say technology alone. But also the kids wanting to go do their own thing is, yeah, that's always going to hold up. As a kid is going to, I don't want to go to school. I want to go do this, you know. But some moments that didn't hold up. But like I said, it's such a cult classic for me, such a part of my childhood that it holds up. You know, I can watch it and just great to see these lines, quote these lines. And yeah, I'd say it's like 50-50. Kids are kids.
Okay.
But then some of the stuff was, like, even if with the outlandish stuff, okay, that's not going to hold up at any generation, but some of the stuff wouldn't hold up today.
Okay. I think I'm with you on that. What about if it's worth a rewatch? What do you think?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's one of those that comes on and you're going to watch some of it. It's so rewatchable. It's so, even like that, oh, yeah, song. That song has got popular from there. And anytime you hear that end song when he's running, trying to beat them home, you'll hear that. That'll be in commercials and stuff, and it'll take you back. And just these things that just bring you back, and definitely rewatchable for me.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, my answer to if it holds up is kinda. So I'm on the same wavelength with you. The things that I'll give the movie credit for is that it has less offensive content than I expected for a 40-year-old film. Like last week, I reviewed Car Wash. And that had a lot of stuff that didn't hold up. Certain
that's a whole different
words
decade,
that don't
though.
fly
That's 70s.
anymore. It is, right. But my thought was that there would be some level of that carried over into this movie. So I didn't hear racist language or xenophobic language or maybe even homophobic language. Like, I didn't hear any of that. I didn't really catch any of that. So on that standpoint, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised to at least see some Black extras in the film as well. You know, this is a predominantly white, story, and, these are rich kids in Chicago. So I thought that was pretty neat. I liked some of the storytelling and editing and film elements, the way the movie cuts between Ferris having the best day of his life with Rooney is having the worst day, and every time Ferris is thriving, we either have Rooney or Jeannie who are, being miserable. Annoyed by how much he's getting away with or how much he's well liked. And we got Rooney getting his shoe eaten by a dog and getting beat up. And the contrast is funny, and I think it's really well executed, along with the close calls that he has with, the different, people who could catch him. I also kind of like Cameron is the most likable character in this story for me. I enjoyed his character more than anyone else. I felt like he was quirky. I understood his anxiety. He felt the most relatable, and he had the most room to grow. Ferris didn't really change at all during this story, but Cameron is the one who went from being in his shell to out of his shell. So he has the most complete arc, even though we don't get any closure. And I also like that this movie acts as like a time capsule, right? We get like an MTV cameo, like very old school graphics from him watching MTV. The house has an intercom system, which is like totally foregone technology. We got the old school Ferrari, Chicago landmarks, Star Wars music. Like, there are these cultural elements that we see. And I think those make this a fun movie to watch, even if it feels dated now. And so I feel like if you were around, when Ferris Bueller first came out, that you'll get a lot of nostalgic feelings from watching this film. But where the film falls apart for me, where it doesn't really hold up, is that I don't really like Ferris Bueller. And I don't feel as badly about him as Jeannie or Rooney do. And I like the idea of a rebel who does their own thing and, follows their own rules. That's not really my problem with him. I think that he, in a lot of ways, is reckless, and he is willing to manipulate people closest to him to get what he wants. And I think that makes him not a good friend. He talks Cameron into things he doesn't want to do. He sets, the wheel in motion for this car. What would it be worth today? Like, 6 figures at least. He hit Cameron, he puts people around him at risk, and then he gets to walk away clean. And I'm like, I just can't get behind that. John Hughes himself once said about Ferris, the kid will either become the president of the United States or go to prison. And I feel like that quote aged well. I think that's accurate. And then there's Rooney, who, if you really think about it, is an educator who's become obsessed with the student to the point of stalking him, breaking into his house, poisoning their family dog. He has a weird reaction when he sees Sloane making out with who he thinks is her dad. That type of stuff really does not hold up. Totally inappropriate and jail worthy if you're an actual educator doing that type of thing to a student. So yeah. Dad, do you think Ferris holds up as a character?
I won't say it's unfair, but I'm too biased. It has too much relevance to me. It hit me at such a certain age, and I can't. I'm saying he's the bee's knees to me, like they like to say.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, he's a righteous dude, as what's her name say. Yeah, I can't really comment from a place of straight now. It's such a moment in time, such a iconic character and story, and then they didn't try to sequel it. They didn't try to redo it, which was great. Which would have been weird because he'd been really old. But anyway,
would have been Ferris Bueller's Spring Break
Right,
him and the
something
gang
like
get back
that.
together.
Yeah. If this, I would say, if that happened early '90s, then it would have happened. I would say
Okay.
'90s is, yeah. Speaking of the sequels, there was a show called Parker Lewis Can't Lose. It's an awful TV show, and it was basically Ferris Bueller, the TV show. It was so bad. Okay. Yeah, that came out in 1990, so it just made me think of that. And he was he would overdo it, and it was I can't remember the actor, but he didn't become nothing much. But I was like, what is this? Just Parker Lewis Can't Lose. It's just a total ripoff. But it made me think of that when we were talking about a sequel.
Interesting. Well, my take on if it's worth a rewatch, I think it depends on who you are. Like, if you grew up with this film, and, I think that it's very rewatchable. And I think it would be fascinating to revisit it, especially with, like, all the things that we know now and are a part of the zeitgeist. And even for the nostalgia, right? I think it would be interesting for people to examine if Ferris is still cool. Is he still likable by modern standards? I think that's just something fun to think about it. It could be an interesting experience. But if you've never seen this movie, I would kind of say, like, it's up to you. Maybe don't bother. I don't know. Depends. And the reason I say that is I don't think it's a bad film. It was fun. It was entertaining. And I feel like the story doesn't hold up that much for me as a first time watcher. We're following a rich kid with rich friends who was able to afford a rich meal at a rich fancy
handing out fibers, handing out money to people.
Yes. And it's like, we're supposed to believe that it's sheer charisma that's made him this local celebrity, and his name on the water tower and in freaking Chicago, which is a ginormous city. And it's like, I have to suspend my disbelief a little bit too much. Yeah. And, the twist and shout scene, and it's like, I don't know. He didn't earn that flash mob. So for me, the story kind of falls apart because the person whose name is on the movie, Ferris Bueller, I actually don't like him very much. It just, and his whole big motivation for helping Cameron, and, he went about it with, lies and manipulation and, recklessness that could have ended very poorly. If they were standing behind the car instead of on the side, somebody could have died. Like, it was so dangerous. And so Ferris gets to be Cameron's fairy godmother, basically. And then everybody else gets to pay the price. So Sloane deserved to have a better storyline. And Jeannie deserved better than making out with a druggie in a police station. They could have developed the storyline of the girls a little bit more. So, yeah. Dad, anything else? Any final thoughts about the movie?
I hadn't rewatched beginning to end in forever, and it was good to do that, and to see all the little things that I remembered, like the baseball thing. I was like, wait, what does he throw at the thing to turn it off? All right, the baseball, and just the little things that they bring back and they allude to it in movies that you remember, like seeing Ferris' name everywhere, and how'd you like the payphones in the high school? You had those.
That was very interesting.
Yeah, that really was. I remember that. So we did have payphones in high school, and then it would ring. People would you'd get the number and you said, let's call the school phone while you're sick. I remember people doing that. But really interesting. But we got to research: are they twins? Is she a year younger than him? But then why did she have a car and he didn't?
Right.
I don't know. Did he have an experience with the car? They said, we're not getting you a car. Did he get caught sometime and was in trouble? It's like, that's
because he can drive.
Right.
So.
Yeah. He probably has a license, of course. But yeah. It's so classic.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed rewatching it. It was a good pick.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Well, it's celebrating 40 years this year. So I'm like, I might as well. And so something I forgot to mention is that this episode is a part of the April Fool's series that we're doing here. So in April, we're doing all comedies. And we're reviewing ones that are celebrating milestone anniversaries. And so Car Wash turned 50. So that was the previous episode. And then, Ferris Bueller turned 40. And then in our next episode, I'll be watching a movie I've never heard of. Dad, I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Girl 6 by Spike Lee.
Yes, I've seen it.
I'm going to be watching that. That's turning 30. And then we're going to close out season 2 of Submedia Reviews by watching Slither, which is turning 20 this year. It's a horror comedy. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
I saw that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah. All right, y'all. Before we close out, let's talk about the ratings a little bit.
Oh, let me show you my shirt. Let me show you my shirt.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, Camp Crystal Lake Counselor.
Yes, I had a little throwback for us from one of our, earlier podcasts before you got to see me.
Yeah. One of our, we reviewed Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th.
Yep. They're on the bottom there. Where'd it go? There it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got Dad that shirt.
Yes. Thank you.
So yeah, for sure. Okay, let's talk about the ratings for this movie. So Ferris Bueller's Day Off on Rotten Tomatoes has an 83 score from the critics and a 92 score from the audience. Dad, what do you think about that, and what would you give it?
Critics, I guess that's right. I have too many problems with either one of those, but I'd put it for them like a 95 probably.
A 95, okay.
For me, yeah. But it was just great. Just so the main thing was the pacing of it, I thought. Just
okay.
You kept going. Like you said, back you got the juxtaposition. They're having their time in their lives. They're miserable. They're at the top of the building, looking down on top of the world. They're having a great meal. They're at the baseball game, catching the foul ball. Man, it's you go through your whole life not even coming close to catching a foul ball, and one of the most iconic stadiums in baseball history is that stadium. But they couldn't fit all that one day. A baseball game is 3 hours. So that's half of your day. The museum is an hour. Lunch is an hour.
Not to mention the school day had already started and Sloan was already in class. And I'm like, how much did they fit into
Because the baseball game is going to start at 12 or 1.
Okay.
So, but it was still, I forgot how many places they had went. I said, I forgot all about the building because that's the first thing. And then they had a museum. And then I remember the lunch and the baseball game and the parade. Just to get in and out of parade, that's 3. If you go to get to the parade is an hour and getting out of it, all the traffic is an hour. Not counting the parade itself. So they packed a lot into a good day.
Yeah, they did for sure. Yeah, if I had to give this movie a rating, again, first time watcher in 2026, I would probably give it about a 75. I think it was good storytelling, and there were a lot of elements of the story that I enjoyed. But to me, a lot of it kind of doesn't hold up for a number of reasons that I mentioned before. So it was just very interesting. We can watch the same thing at different times and it just means something different. I'm under the impression if I was around or had watched it earlier in my life that it would loom a little larger for me. So, yeah. All right, y'all. That is a wrap on Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's 40 years old and still sparking conversation, which, it's iconic. I can't deny that. Yeah. So it really says something about the film and the legacy of John Hughes and, all the actors and actresses that made this a thing. So I want to say a super special thank you to Dad for joining me today. Dad, you have any final thoughts or I want to say bye?
No, nothing much. Just one thing. Bueller. It's so iconic. But thanks for having me, and can't wait to do it again.
Yes, of course. Now, if you all enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone who loves old movies. And I think I probably will have a hot take on Ferris Bueller if you share it with someone who actually really loves this movie. But if you watched it recently, if you have some thoughts, I genuinely want to hear from you. So drop something in the comments below or find us on our social media pages. We are on YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Facebook and TikTok. Now, again, we're wrapping up for season 2 of Sub Media Reviews, and I talked a little bit earlier about all the stuff we have coming up. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you're aware of when we drop a new episode. Season 3 is going to kick off in October, and so you'll know where to find me when the time comes. But we do still have a few episodes that are coming up, so make sure you check those out. Now, y'all have a great day, and peace out. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Sub Media Reviews. New episodes drop just about every week, and our brand new YouTube series is coming your way. So make sure you follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook so you never miss a thing. Got a movie, album, or show you think we should review? Send it our way. Until next time, keep watching, keep listening, and just chill till the next episode.